Take that, Josh Bell. Khalil Watson says anything you can do, I can do better. Everybody wins the trade, right?
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Locked On Guardians, your team every day all over the Locked On Network. I want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day. We are free wherever you get podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Apple, all that fun stuff. Recording this live on Thursday night, doing a live mailbag episode. Got lots of questions from you guys on YouTube, on Twitter. If you are watching live, I can see the comments rolling in if you want to ask a question during the show. Gonna focus on the minor league system. Obviously, the Guardians are off today. We're off on Thursday, so no game to talk about. Hey, I promise you the Guardians wouldn't lose Thursday, and I actually think they won. Khalil Watson looked fantastic in his first game. Let's call it a win, right? Why not? We'll talk about, we'll do around the farm. We'll answer some questions. We'll talk a little about the White Sox matchup coming over the weekend. Guardians are still, not technically out of the race, even though we don't know what's going to happen. And then I did a crossover podcast with Sully, who runs Locked On MLB. You should listen to that. He is going to drop that episode soon. So Sully and I talked about the state of the Guardians and why the Guardians didn't go for it at the deadline, why the Twins didn't go for it at the deadline either. I still, as shocked as I was about what the Guardians did or didn't do, I'm just as shocked about what the Twins didn't do. Like, that's mind-blowing. The Twins did even less. Dylan Florio for Pablo, it was one of their relievers. I forget which reliever it was. He wasn't doing very good for them. Doesn't matter. Twins are currently winning as I'm recording this, so 5-2. So right now the Guardians are still 2 out. Could be 2.5 by the end of the night. So just wait for your questions to roll in as we're doing this live, and I'm just going to start with around the farm a little bit, and I'll sprinkle in some questions as we can. We've only got one ad read tonight, so we should make this go pretty good. Obviously, a good first night for one Khalil Watson. He went 2 for 4 in his captain's debut and had a home run, hit a single in his first at bat. Looked pretty good. I think he had a pop out in the other at bat and a ground out in the other. So, good debut overall. Swing looked really good. He played second base. He batted second. I would imagine the Guardians will move him around the infield between second and shortstop a little bit. But good to see him swinging it good and swinging it hard. That ball he hit over the right field wall was an absolute tank job. That was a great swing to see from him. I know I've got a lot of questions from people, too, asking about Khalil Watson in center field. I would love for the Guardians to absolutely explore it. They had no problem doing it with Jake Fox. Khalil Watson might be the best athlete in the Guardian system. That is not – I don't think that's even – a stretch to say at all. I'm looking up and down their roster in the minor league system, and Khalil Watson is probably the best athlete the Guardians have in their system. So I would not be surprised, or I'm really hopeful they'll try him in center field. I want to see if he can stick on the middle infield, but they seem to have already moved Jake Fox to center field. He has not played the infield pretty much at all this year. And I want to talk about Jake Fox a little bit as well later in the episode if I have time. But yeah, I think that as I almost said Dayan Frias. Khalil Watson, talk about Dayan Frias too. Khalil Watson is the best athlete this system has at the moment, and it would be a shame not to try him in center field, especially with the Guardians' outfield problems. And like I said, this Josh Bell trade's no lose for them. Truthfully, they opened up a spot for Manzardo next year. They cleared Josh Bell's money off the books. They saved money somehow by doing that and getting rid of Gene Segura, and hopefully Watson is a boomer bust prospect. If he doesn't do well, then you cleared a spot for Manzardo next year and avoided being stuck with Josh Bell, who I know hit a home run in his first game. And I want to say too, people are like, "Oh, of course he hit a home run in his first game. Of course Amed Rosario homered." It takes more than one game to fix a player. Okay, Josh Bell has had good games before. If you think a coach, if he gets to his first game, and he's fixed all of a sudden, I don't think you really understand how baseball and how coaching works. So, yeah, he looked good in his first game, but I'm not really too worried. And the Dodgers, like I said, they're playing Amed Rosario at second base. quickly. They are playing him only against left-handers, things that should have happened in Cleveland but didn't for some reason. We'll touch on that as well. I've got a question about that. So overall, good first night for Khalil Watson. I would love to see him in center field. I'm okay with him playing shortstop for now and second base, but would love to see a chance in center field for him. They need the outfield prospect help. There are some exciting outfield prospects. If you move Khalil Watson to the outfield, you've got Chase DeLauder, who we're still, wait and see on with him. He's still very exciting. You've still got Jason Chorio. You've got guys down in the minors who are exciting in the outfield for at least, but if you add Watson to that list, could get even more exciting. Let's talk about Kyle Manzardo a little bit. I was having some conversations with some other people today about Kyle Manzardo. I think that there's a lot of good traits there. And I don't want to call him Jose Ramirez. He's not Jose Ramirez. I know I said with Ron Brito too, but you can see the kind of players the Guardians like, right? Kyle Manzardo does a couple things that Jose Ramirez does well. And ironically, Kyle Manzardo's AAA exit velocities mirror Jose Ramirez's. And when Jose Ramirez came up, nobody thought he had great pop either. I mean, no one thought he did 30 home runs. I don't think I even thought he hit 20 back in 2012 when I saw him in Lake County. And after 2016, I thought, 10, 15. Been fantastic since then, obviously. And I don't think anybody would sit there and look at his exit velocities. He's in the 75th percentile this year in exit velocity. That makes him, it's obviously the upper third of exit velocities, but that probably makes him at best a 50 or 55 power max. If Kyle Manzardo is similar, we'll see when he comes up at some point next year. He'll probably go to AAA here soon. He can get to all of that because of the amount of fly balls he hits. He gets the ball in the air, and he's good at getting power to his pull side. That is how Jose Ramirez maxed out his power. I will say the park factors for Manzardo at Bowling Green and Montgomery, those are hitter-friendly ballparks. They're home run-friendly ballparks, so there is that. Columbus is going to be the same way for him, so beware of the home run rate in those parks because of the park factors and because of how the parks are built. So beware of that. But I think Kyle Manzardo does a lot of things well. So even if you are concerned that his power is average or fringe average, 45 power can still amount to the home runs in the 20s. And he can get to all of that power because of the way he gets the ball in the air and how he gets to his pull side. Now, he'll have to learn in the big leagues how he can maximize or what pitches he can drive the way Jose Ramirez has, the way a lot of guys have. They have to learn what pitches he can drive. The big thing for him is he makes more contact. And you do obviously think about, is it below average power in terms of first base? Like if he's a 20 to 25 home run hitter max, that's fine. He's going to hit, hopefully he hits for high average, takes walks. That's definitely not going to be the most average power for first base. It's average power overall, but first base, obviously it's a higher bar to clear. He has left-handed instead of right-handed, which makes it better. But obviously for first base, people are going to grade the power a little below there because of that. All right, let's see. We talked about Kyle Manzardo. Juan Brito, obviously off to doing fantastic things in Akron. Not as great from the right side. I haven't seen as much from him from the right side. I want to see more there. Jose Tena went to AAA with Brian Rocchio being up in Cleveland. I want to see Juan Brito up there. I want to see what he can do. I think it's time to move him from AA. He's done really well there. I think he is just fine. Let's see what he can do in AAA. I know a lot of people are questioning about where he can play on the diamond. He made a really nice play at second base. If you didn't see it, I tweeted the clip from last night. Made a really nice play going to his left and then throwing back over his shoulder going right. I think Brito can stick on the infield. I'm not sure he's going to be great, but the bat should be enough to clear whatever defensive shortcomings he has at second base. You can maybe consider he might be able to play everywhere. He might be able to play first and second, not really well. There's the outfield to consider with him as well. I think it's worth moving him around to see where he fits best because I like the bat a lot. Very quickly, I'm going to suggest again Franco Aleman. Another great night tonight for Akron. 96-97, another strikeout, another perfect inning. He has yet to allow, I think he has allowed 4 hits in 13 innings with 2 walks and 19 strikeouts. Would like to see him at AAA as well. Move him quickly. Things have really taken off for him this year. His stuff looks electric. I would like to see more of that. Quickly, I'm going to note James Karinchak too. I have one weird take on James Karinchak from this. He pitched again today and he threw 92, 94. He was fine. He had a good inning, but he is consistently 92, 94. He is not, the velocity is not there. The spin's not there. The strikeouts are what they are. Things seem to have regressed for him. I'm not really sure what to do with him. I've got a quick comment or a quick take on James Karinchak that we're going to get to in just a moment. So stick with me here on Locked On Guardians. Obviously, the Guardians are trying to find the right pieces that fit for a championship team. It's making sure every player is the perfect fit. And it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, you need to head to eBay Motors with the guaranteed eBay fit. You can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to my garage. Look for the green check to know the part's going to fit or you're going to get your money back. That's a big deal because, like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. So get the right parts, get the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items apply. Eligible items only. Exclusions are going to apply. Guardians back in action Friday night. You can listen to the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by just searching Guardians on the app. Okay, let's get back to the minor league updates here. Yeah, James Karinchak, I just want to say one more thing. I'm guessing he didn't have a whole lot of trade value. I was really hoping the Guardians were going to dump him at the trade deadline because I think it's pretty obvious they're going to non-tender him in the offseason. I don't know if anybody was willing to offer cash or international signing money, even a low-level prospect, anything to get rid of the guy. Unless they're really hanging on to him just as like emergency depth for this year, I don't know. But it's pretty obvious at this point. I feel like they're going to non-tender him in the offseason. I can't imagine they're going to go to arbitration with James Karinchak. Anything of him for the trade deadline would have been worth it, honestly. There would have been any offer you'd have gotten would have been worth it for him. But maybe that suggests he didn't have any value, or they just really want to hang on to him just in case of emergency. I don't know. Seems like there's other guys. Dayan Frias, I think he had a legitimate argument for player, I think, of the week. Milan Tolentino is obviously playing very well at Lake County as well. Dayan Frias has hit a couple home runs. I think he's got 7 home runs since July. He's got 10 all year. 7 have come since July. So he is really hot right now. Saw him make a great play at third base tonight for Lake County at throwing across the diamond. He had a really good anticipation on a slow roll or a bouncer to the third base that he could have been late on, could have been early on, and he absolutely had a hose across the diamond. I did not know Dayan Frias had an arm that good. So love to see that. I would love to see him at the next level as well. I think he's ready for Double-A. One of the guys that's really been a bright spot this year. Jake Fox, I saw him play last week. He had 4 hits and a walk. Had a great day in center field as well. I'm really impressed with where things have gone for him. I was kind of down on Jake Fox earlier in the year coming into the season. I thought the walks were a result of bad pitching in low A and his passiveness. He's improved lately. The hit tools improved a little bit. I think he's got a good idea of what he wants to do at the plate. The walks are still good. And he's improved in center field. I had doubts about how good he was going to be in the outfield. He's improved. As I said, Jose Tena went to AAA. He's run a high strikeout rate with all the success he's had the last month or so in Akron. The strikeout rate is high. The walk rate's improved, so that's good. He's walking more, which he needed to do. He is striking out more. I don't know what to make of it. I have doubts still, but at least it's a good turnaround for him to see what happens, and he's still on the 40-man roster. Get to AAA, see what happens. I think it still makes sense to include him in any kind of trade. Depends on how much value he has. I don't think it's a ton, but he could be a third piece in the trade maybe, and you can offload him. I don't think the Guardians need him at this point. Carson Tucker. I don't want to bag on the kid. I'm sure it's tough for him, and I'm sure it's frustrating, and he's wanting to play better, and he's got a lot of expectations. But Carson Tucker's back on the IL with a wrist sprain. Just hasn't been good for him. He hasn't been on the field, and when he's on the field, he's not playing well. There's errors, there's strikeouts. this looks like one of the worst first round picks the Guardians are going to make. I don't know if he'll make it out of, I don't know if he'll make the AA at this point. It looks pretty bad. Petey Halpin has played better lately. He needs to play a lot better, though, and Logan Allen is part of that draft class. Those two guys are going to need to be major leaguers if that draft class is going to work out, because this right now, Carson Tucker, it's not looking pretty. Steven Hajar, I've seen a couple of his starts this year. He has his good days and his bad days. There are days where he is, on his good days, the control is still a problem. He is still walking 3 or 4 guys a game on a good day. He can miss bats, and he doesn't give up a lot of hits. On the bad days, he walks a lot of guys in, doesn't get out of the first inning. He did that a couple times this year. I think long-term, Steven Hajar is a reliever. I think he's another Sam Henches. The arm slots are very similar. He is a 92, 94 pitcher as a starter. In the bullpen, I could easily see him being 95, 96. He's got a good slider. He's got a good breaking ball. It would help the command out. I see a lot of Sam Henches there, to be honest with you. And I didn't think Sam Henches was going to be a great reliever either. I didn't think he had the stuff to do it. I didn't think the stuff was going to translate to the bullpen, but it has. Although he's had a tough year. But Steven Hajar at least looks like a guy I think can convert to the bullpen. If they can figure the control out, he ends up being a nice, intriguing left-handed starter. But he might have even worse control than Doug Nikhazy. And Doug Nikhazy, if you've listened to me before, I love Doug Nikhazy, but I just really don't see it with him, with Hajar, quite as much with the stuff. And then a final note on minor leaguers before we get to questions for the day. Ryder Ryan, you may not remember Ryder Ryan. So he was a 2021 draft. I'm sorry, a 2017 draft pick of the Guardians, 30th round. He was in Lake County. At the time, it was low A. He was traded to the Mets in the Jay Bruce deal. He got called up today to the Seattle Mariners. He's bounced around a little bit since that trade. The 30th round, as you know, doesn't exist in the draft anymore. So guys who were taken in the 30th round even before were not sure bets to make it to the major leagues. So kudos to Ryder Ryan. I always thought when he got traded, obviously at the time I was like, that's worth it. He's a low A reliever to get Jay Bruce, and it's because the Guardians at the time took on all Jay Bruce's money. Let's not forget that. The Yankees wanted Jay Bruce back in 2017 at the waiver deadline. It was the August trade after Michael Brantley was hurt a second time. The Yankees wanted Jay Bruce too, and because Cleveland decided they were going to take on Jay Bruce's contract, what he was owed in 2017, and the Yankees were not, Cleveland was able to give up a lesser prospect for Jay Bruce because they took the money on. How's that for your money thing? At the time, the Guardians were obviously going for it, and they pushed their payrolls. They had John Sherman. I choose to believe that at some point when the Guardians, if they ever get back to the 2016-2018 window like they had where they were all in, that you will see significant payroll ads. But I'm choosing to believe that, but I'm also not going to sit here and say I'm guaranteeing it's going to happen. So we'll see. But kudos to Ryder Ryan. Like I said, 30th round pick and a low A reliever when he was traded. Hope he plays for Seattle. Hope he does well. That is a super, super fun story. Got a couple more comments. And again, if you got comments, if you got questions, if you're watching live, feel free to hit me up on here. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter. I've got a bunch of questions to get to. We've kind of covered the minor leagues a little bit. I've got a couple other players you guys have asked about that I'm saving to talk about during the question portion of the show, but continue to send those in if you'd like. We might briefly talk about the White Sox because I don't need it. The Guardians haven't even said who's pitching during the White Sox series yet. So as of Wednesday, the Guardians had sent out, I should say Tuesday, had sent out pitchers for the week, and they had Logan Allen Friday and Noah Syndergaard Saturday. When they sent out the update yesterday about the pitchers for the series coming up, they still only have Logan Allen Friday, and now they don't have a pitcher listed for Saturday anymore. So we'll see what's changed there, but this could be an interesting weekend. Going to find out. Logan Allen is going to go on Friday. I've got a question about Logan Allen too in the mailbag portion, so we're going to get to that here coming up in just a second. So stick around on Locked On Guardians. Guardians back in action at 7:10 Friday night. That is Logan Allen, and Mike Clevenger gets to pitch against the Guardians again. Oh boy. If you can't watch the game, or if you can't make it, or you just rather listen on the radio, tune on your Sirius XM app. Just search Guardians to find the broadcast. All right, let's do some questions, shall we? Let's see. Mr. Cavalier. Why are the Guardians so hesitant to push guys through the minors? Delauder and Brito are prime examples at the moment. Also, on that note, a lot of 23 draft guys are making their debut. Are we going to see Velasquez? So I think we talked about it on here with, I think it was Tanner when he did it. When he was on with us over the winter. The Guardians really value that period when they come out of the draft of acclimation to the pro game and what they expect of these guys, how to get them into good routines every day, that sort of thing. They value that waiting period, just getting guys transitioned to pro ball, the things they want to do to make them successful big leaguers. I'm not saying it works. I'm not saying it's, and they even say they're not saying it's better than anybody else's approach. It's just the approach they feel is best for the guys they're bringing in. So as far as 23 draft picks, especially high schoolers, maybe, I don't know, the Arizona Complex League is going to be winding down here relatively soon. Hold out slim chance hope that Velasquez plays a game or two, but I'd be really surprised. That's just something they normally don't do, especially with high school kids. I think you'll maybe see a college player or two get to play in the Arizona Complex League. Maybe one of them gets up to Lynchburg. Joe Lampe played for Lynchburg for like one game last year. That might be it. And another reason the Guardians say they do this is because guys are playing spring and into June. And then after June comes, they shut down and they don't play on anymore. And they don't want to ramp guys back up, especially pitchers. They don't want to, get them back up just to shut down during the off season. So I don't know. It's just, like I said, I'm not saying their approach is better, and they agree. They're not saying their approach is better. It's just what they prefer for guys not to have to ramp up. But I think you'll see like a college guy or two playing in Arizona. You might get one for a couple of games up in Lynchburg. We'll see. As far as their hesitancy to push guys around the minors, Delauder at Lake County is perfectly fine, to be honest with you, because he was hurt all of last season for the most part. He barely played in college. He didn't get back on the field when they drafted him because of the injury, because he re-injured it, and then he was missed most of this year. And he also played against a lot of inferior competition in college. He did well in the Cape, so the Cape is good. I think high A, not a lot of guys skip high A. They're almost no guys skip high A. Jose Ramirez is the only guy in recent memory that skipped high A. Jose Ramirez is truly one of a kind. So high A is perfectly fine for Delauder. I was actually impressed with how fast the Guardians pushed Juan Brito to Double A, because he, at the time of his promotion, could have made an excuse to keep him at high A, but he's in Double A. I definitely think they should push him to Triple A now, but I think they've done pretty good as far as pushing him through. They are pretty slow to move guys through, though. I mean, Parker Messick was at low A for too long, but a lot of that is also due to lack of available arms. Like, they don't invest in the international market in terms of pitching, so they don't have a lot of teenage arms coming through. They have drafted more high school pitchers lately and more JUCO kids, so some of them end up at low A, so they might backfill that way in the future. But sometimes they just don't have enough bodies to replace guys to move them up. That's the thing. When you move guys along, whether it's position player or pitcher, you've got to fill that void. And I think the problem with not moving guys out of the lower half of the minors too quickly is because they don't have bodies, and that's because they don't like to push guys very fast who are high school kids or younger out of Arizona into the affiliates. So they often have to leave guys. And I think that's a problem. That's a good point to bring up. It's a problem. Parker Messick absolutely needed to be in high A earlier this year. He was absolutely ready for it, but they just didn't have the innings available. And, he's had his bumps to it. High A. He had a good night tonight. He had 6 strikeouts in 5 innings. That was impressive, but they just don't, usually it's a backfill problem, and that's an issue that they need to address. And they are trying to at this point. Jeff, oh boy, it's 2025. The rotation is Bybee, McKenzie, Williams, Allen, and who? If it's 2025, if I can see in 2025, can I go buy a lottery ticket or something first? Oh boy. All right. You got Bybee, you got Williams, you got Allen, you got McKenzie. Who is the fifth starter? I would love for that fifth starter to be Joey Cantillo or Cody Morris. It depends on health for those two and obviously control for Joey Cantillo. We'll see. I'm going to say it might be somebody it's not even in their system at this time. It might be somebody they acquire, maybe a trade. Maybe it's a draft pick who gets there. Maybe it's a guy who's already in the system. Let me see. It's definitely not going to be Alex Clemmy. I can tell you that. Yeah, I don't think it'll be. I don't know. If it's not somebody in the system right now, I'm kind of looking. I hope it's Daniel Espino. I truly hope it's Daniel Espino. 2025. That'd be great. So yeah, let me say one of Espino, Williams, or Espino, Cantillo, and Morris. If it's not one of those three, I've got some real questions about what happened to those three if it's not one of them. So we'll see. Sam wants to know, is Logan Allen good? I know this sounds basic, but he's been struggling some, and I'm worried about his stuff, and will play long term. Why don't your take on it? Yeah, I am still pretty confident in Logan Allen's abilities. I think two things are happening here. He is nibbling a little too much, and I think it's two things. I think it is he sometimes will nibble, and sometimes he is too in the zone. It's for his fastball. He's going to have to find the right balance, right? He needs to locate his fastball because it's not thrown very hard. He tops out 93, and he does have a low approach angle on it, so it looks a little bit faster and it plays up. But at 93, guys can still time it. He gets a lot of foul balls. His problem is his fastball gets fouled off a lot at times, and that drives up his pitch count. And other times he's trying to be too fine and throw the right pitch or spot in the right corner of the zone. He gets a little bit too fine and ends up nibbling. So those are two things he's got to work on. I don't know about the fastball. I think he really would do better with less fastball usage. And also he just has to have good command with it as well. Sometimes he can be too in the zone too and just gets fouled off. Daniel, what do you make of Jhonkensy Noel season? Walk rate and strikeout rate look much better, but the WRC plus is poor. Reduced ISO and BABIP, crazy for thinking this season's a positive for him. We know the power's there, and he's showing a better approach. So Jhonkensy Noel's problem is this. For a guy who can hit the ball 116 miles an hour like he has this year, his average exit velocity. Now, average exit velocity sometimes is an imperfect way to measure a guy's ability to hit the ball hard because you're going to get a range of outcomes. You're going to get his worst. You're going to get his best. To me, a guy like Jhonkensy Noel should not be averaging 86 miles an hour on an average exit velocity. That's a guy who should be averaging 90 or better. Now, that's only, almost 3 miles an hour off of what he should be averaging. But it's a lot of mishits for him. He is running a higher ground ball rate than he is hitting fly balls. That's not good for a power hitter. It's just a lot of mishits for him. He does a very bad job of getting to the barrel consistently. When he hits the ball, obviously he's got 18 home runs and I think 17 doubles this year or something. Obviously, when he connects, there's power and he can do damage, but it's a lot of mishits. It's a lot of weak ground balls at times, and it's just a lot of ground balls in general. So that's a problem. They've got to maybe fix the launch angle a little bit with him. Looks like it's 11.9. That's not terrible, but it's a little bit low. So contact is definitely still a bit of an issue for him. A 25% strikeout rate is better than where he's been. It could be better. The walk rate's a little better this year. I still think it's going to be a high strikeout, low walk approach. I think you're kind of looking at a low end power guy with very little walk rate. Maybe more power than Oscar Gonzalez, but a similar approach. BVH wants to know, would you make Josh Naylor a centerpiece for a Pete Alonso trade? Actually, this is interesting because there was a report the other day talking about how it's possible that the Mets would consider dealing Pete Alonso. I'd be all in on getting Pete Alonso in Cleveland. Of course, if you have Josh Naylor and Kyle Manzardo, you don't have a whole lot of places for Pete Alonso, unless you're talking about moving Josh Naylor back to the outfield, which, okay, I guess that's one way to do things. It's probably not the best way, but it's a way. I don't know. Pete Alonso only has 1 year control left. He's a free agent at the end of next year. I don't think I'm doing that. Unless you can get him to sign an extension. And at that point, I don't know how much Pete Alonso is going to want. I would love to extend Pete Alonso if you got him. I would not be against the Guardians going out and finding a way to get him, despite what they already have on their roster. Obviously, Josh Naylor it would be complicated to have Naylor and Manzardo on the roster with Pete Alonso, but I don't know if you can get Pete Alonso, figure it out later, right? Just get the guy in the system. Let's see what our comments are on YouTube here. So we got a question from Nolan. Is Aleman strictly reliever or starter? No, he is a reliever. Control and really a 2-pitch pitcher. He's got a fastball and a sinker, and he's got a slider. So Aleman is definitely a reliever only. And again, if you guys are watching, I know we got a couple people watching live. Feel free to jump in with any questions or comments you want me to read on the air. Moving 7ARG37. Any update in a lockdown meetup at a game? So Jeff is in town. I know he's in Cleveland or somewhere in Ohio. If he's not, he will be at some point. I've asked him about whether or not he wants to do a meetup. I don't know if it's going to be at a game or we were talking about maybe doing like a restaurant or a bar. If that happens, we'll let everybody know. I'm down for it, especially if it's Saturday. I'm available Saturday if there is a meetup somewhere. So I will talk to Jeff again and see how things are looking on his family plans and see if he's got time to do that. And I'll let everybody know. Absolutely. So I would love to do that. Charles, don't know if there's one answer, but I'd love to hear an explanation why almost every MLB hitter except Naylor and our most top prospects have regressed offensively this year. Lack of overall barrel slugging power, every level of this organization. Yeah, it's definitely a problem. It's hard to say. Andres Jimenez, I think, played a little above his head last year. He's one of those guys who, he ran a high average on balls in play. There were a lot of metrics last year suggested he was due for a regression, and it hit him hard. I don't think he is this bad, but he also looks like the player he did a little bit in 2021. I think he tinkers a lot too. That's what we've talked about too, is when guys are not playing well, they're trying to fix things, and then you're just trying to constantly fix things, and then you're never settling with one approach. And that happened to him in 2021. So there's an issue with that here this year with him. And yeah, the Guardians just are not finding guys in the draft. Like, obviously their approach is to find high contact guys and help them hit for power. And that's weighted bats. They've tried weighted bats. I see now this puck handle bat. If you watch, next time you watch the broadcast, if you haven't noticed yet, like Steven Kwan, Jose Ramirez, I think Will Brennan, some of those guys are swinging this bat that has like a hockey puck style handle. It's supposed to counterbalance the weight of the barrel and make you swing faster. So they're trying all those things and it hasn't worked so far. Like I said this on the podcast the other day. If you listen to Thursday's episode, it's fair to question this approach because you can't just buy all in on making all these contact guys learn how to hit for power. It hasn't worked yet, and I'm not saying it's not going to work, but to this point, it hasn't worked, and it's too soon to give up on the approach. They're already all in anyway with the Freemans, the Rocchios, these types, all these guys who have fringe power. That's why it was good getting Manzardo, because I think he has more than fringe power. Manzardo's the one guy I think that you can help out a little bit, and he already has the ability to get the ball in the air. You're taking a guy who's got 45, 50 power, and you could maybe jump at a half grade, unlike, the Quans and stuff like that. But yeah, they're not finding guys turning and hitting into power, and that's the problem. It's great they're finding these high contact guys. And look, everybody knows that if you strike out a lot in college, you're going to strike out a lot in the pros too. It gets harder. So everyone's looking for low strikeout rates, but everybody else is also finding guys who have power too. And you have to diversify your system. You can't just have one type of hitter. And that's the problem. Ryan, some point, nice to take a look at the pending outfield free agent class, see if there's opportunities to upgrade in the offseason. Yeah, the outfield market, it's pretty rough. You've got Jock Peterson. Michael Conforto could opt out. I don't think he will. Charlie Blackmon, Cody Bellinger, AJ Pollock, Teoscar Hernandez, Michael Brantley, but he's been hurt. Jorge Soler has a player option that I think he'll opt out of because he's having a good year. He's a DH, though. Joey Gallo, Randall Grichuk. After that, it's even rougher. So, I don't know. There's Adam Duvall. And what are you doing? So you're coming back next year with what? Miles Straw on that contract, unless you can move him. Stephen Juan, you're probably going to guarantee at bats to next year, and then Will Brennan, Oscar Gonzalez. You're still trying to figure out what role those guys play in the future. And if you go out and you sign a free agent, if you go out and you sign any kind of outfield free agent, I think you almost have to move one of those guys that I just talked about, whether it's Straw, whether it's Brennan or Gonzalez. If you're going to go out and you're going to sign a Teoscar Hernandez, who probably is going to take a 1-year pillow deal because he's had an awful year. If you're going to go out and maybe explore Jock Peterson, who's had a pretty good year, but he's 32 now. Jorge Soler, who's really not an outfielder. He's more of a DH, but he's going to be expensive. And this is the other thing about free agents too. The Guardians continue to whiff on free agents. The last time a free agent worked out for them was Edwin Encarnacion. And before that was Mike Napoli. Besides that, it's been poor. Yonder Alonso was fine, I suppose. He wasn't great, but he was fine. Free agents have not worked out for them. They might be better off going with like an Adam Duvall type or something as a right-handed outfielder. I don't know. Free agents have not worked out for them, so that's always something to consider as well. So we got a few more comments coming in. Glenn Longwell from Twitter, who's no longer on Twitter. Come back, Glenn. How far away is Valera after the season? And is he the next part of the prospects, or if someone surpassed him? No one surpassed him yet because he is at AAA. So there's no outfield prospect that surpassed him. I think it's probably out of the question. He makes it up in September. If he has a good month of August, I could see him coming up in September. So don't quote me on that. Let's say that Valera stays healthy all August, hits the ball well. By the way, the Twins won 5-3 on Thursday here as I'm recording. Wow, that was Sonny Gray's first win. Sonny Gray got the win in that game. That was his first win since April 30th. That's mind-boggling. Boy, the Twins are wild. So the Guardians will go into the weekend 2.5 out of first place because of that. So whatever. I don't think anybody's past Valera just because there's simply nobody else to surpass him. Like who could surpass him right now in the outfield? Like there's nobody at AAA. Jonathan Rodriguez, I don't see passing him yet. I know some of you really like Jonathan Rodriguez. I think it's another Oscar Gonzalez type again here. And there's more swing and miss in his game to me in the zone. Gonzalez is just a chaser. Gonzalez will chase everything. He makes contact with a lot of bad pitches. That's Gonzalez's problem. Rodriguez swings and misses a lot more than Gonzalez, but he does get to his power too, but I think it's going to be a similar thing. And he does walk a little more, so there is that, but I don't think it's a whole lot different than Gonzalez. I think it's a poor approach that gets exploited at the major league level. He's got a good arm. He's not a good defender, just like Gonzalez. There may be a few more walks in there. That's about the only difference I can see. There's going to be more strikeouts, and it's just going to wind up being a low contact, low OBP power approach. The power is definitely there for him. Let's see. Yeah, average exit velocity of 90, has no problem getting the ball. Well, he does hit more ground balls than he probably should. He was running a 45% ground ball rate in AA. That's not great for a power hitter, but for a guy who also hit 18 home runs in AA in a ballpark not really meant for homers and doing that. So I guess that's pretty good. We'll see. I don't think anybody has surpassed him. How do we get more three-team trades to happen? Those are way more fun, says Moving Arg. That appears to be the Guardians thing, right? The only way they make any trades if it's a three-way trade. They don't almost never make a big deal. The Reds Padres won, the Bauer won. The Clevenger one was a 2-team swap, I guess. They usually do pretty good with those, though. So maybe that's what they need to happen to clear some of this farm system out. Any good chance that we let Syndergaard walk if he turns it around? I don't know. Too soon to say. I don't think there's enough time left in the season for the Guardians to help Syndergaard turn things around. I really don't. I think they're just hoping to get 5 or 6 innings out of him a night just to save the rotation and the bullpen a little bit. And if they get a quality start out of it, 6 runs, 3 innings, they'll be happy. I don't know if there's enough time to turn it around with him. If they do, it might be their best job ever because of the timeline to do it. So, I'd imagine he'll go back into free agency. If they turn him around, he's going to go out in the market and be like, hey, look, I was good the last 2 months of the year. Give me a good contract. And if not, then, I don't know. I don't think there's a match there for Cleveland, and depends on what they do in the offseason too. If they go ahead with the Shea Bieber trade this winter, if they feel like they can move him, there might be a spot for him. And who knows? If there's a chance that McKenzie and Bieber might need Tommy John too. We don't know this yet. So if those guys are hurt, they're going to need some arms to help him out in the free agency. Okay, last one here from Twitter, Lone Wolf. Would Amed Rosario have been, this is from YouTube yesterday, actually. Would Amed Rosario have been a better fit at second base for us? If so, would Tito have made the move? Yes. 100%, 1,000% yes. If you remember, the first year, 2021, they started the season with Amed Rosario in center field and Andres Jimenez at shortstop because Jimenez had a great spring training, made the team out of that, and then Jimenez was not playing well. They sent the AAA, so they moved Rosario back to shortstop, and that was the end of that. He tried a little bit of left field. That didn't work. It should have happened. Those two should have been swapped forever ago. I don't know why Rosario wasn't playing second. The only thing I can think is that the Guardians were hoping he would rebound, defensively. Like 2022, before the end of the shift, he was a fringe defender. I don't know. He wasn't like god awful, but he was fringe according to stats. Even if the eye test didn't really match that, I don't think. But metrics said he was okay last year. He was passable. He should have been playing second base, and he should only be playing against lefties. That's what the Dodgers required him to do. That's what he's doing. He's going to succeed. We all saw this coming. That is an absolute problem. Just committed to a guy that was good in the clubhouse, trying to do right by him, and it hurt the team. That's a problem. That's an absolute problem. They should have been switched forever ago. So he got some more comments here. Oh, $2 from Moving 7ARG37. Thank you. We weren't asking for donations tonight, but thank you so much. Really appreciate that. AL Comedy Central. That is a great move. I think you might hear that comment on Lockdown MLB, my crossover with Sully. So check out Lockdown MLB every day after you listen to us. And the next episode that Lockdown MLB feed will drop, we'll have me on there talking about the Guardians and why on God's green earth they made these trades, and why this division is so sad, and why neither team did anything at the trading deadline. Okay, Guardians and White Sox over the weekend too. By the way, Dallas Keuchel got called up by the Twins. They added him to their major league roster in time for him before he got to be a free agent. So no Dallas Keuchel, as I talked about the other day. Not surprised by that with Joe Ryan, who won on the IL with whiplash because of the 4 home runs he gave up the other night to the Cardinals. So there goes that idea. I want to thank you all for tuning in, especially on a live episode. Thank you for the donations. Very, very kind. We never asked for that. And thank you guys for all the questions as well. Hope you enjoyed the Around the Farm look. Well, again, we'll probably do these next week again. Actually, it'll be 2 weeks before the Guardians have another day off. It'll be a Monday, so it'll be an Around the Farm Tuesday episode. But we'll be back with you on Monday in your feeds. So thank you all for all you guys do, rating and reviewing all that fun stuff and all the questions. And go Guardians, go.